Tony Leonardi and the Youngstown State University Jazz Ensemble.
Tonight I'm interviewing drummer Greg Parnell, president of Glenn Miller Productions, director of the Orlando Jazz Orchestra, and owner and agent of Phoenix Talent Agency. Over the past 25 years, Glenn Miller Productions has hired over 30 musicians from Youngstown State University. Here's my interview with Greg.
Heaven, I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak, and I seem to find the happiness I seek when we're out together dancing cheek to cheek. Oh, heaven.
Hi, Greg. How's it going?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent.
Nice to see you again. It's been a couple years, I think.
Yeah. It's always good to see you.
You
Puts a
too.
smile on my face.
Thank you. So to start everything off, I wanted to ask you, how did you get into jazz? What made you pick drums or percussion? And, when did that all start for you?
Okay. Basically, going through the public school system, you start typically in fifth grade, and I chose the drums. And for whatever reason, I don't know why it worked out, but it just seemed to make sense for me. So did that, then got together with some different private teachers. And the main thing that happened for me that was a great thing was my high school band director was also my private teacher. So he really that's Scott Coder. He really set me up for success. And that's how it all started.
And what about jazz? How did you get into that genre?
Yeah. That's a great question. Of course, I look back and I think there are certain things that I never really realized that were happening. My grandfather, of course, was in World War II, and he loved the big band music. So it was always playing. But as a kid, I didn't think anything of it, but now I think back, it's like, oh yeah, I heard that at my grandfather's house all the time. So that's where I heard it. And then with my teachers, when you're studying drum set, one of the things that you cover are your different beats, whether it's a rock beat or a Latin beat or a jazz beat. So they're all in those, you're studying all that stuff. And once again, with my teacher, he really taught me a lot about jazz, and I was in the jazz band in junior high and high school. So I guess that's how it started. And then when I was a senior, he brought the Youngstown State Jazz Ensemble to my high school, where I got to meet the guys in the band. I got to hear the band, and I got to meet your dad. And that's where that began.
Okay. Well, you answered my next question. So what years were you in the YSU Jazz Ensemble?
Yeah, so I started school in fall of '88, and this is an interesting story. So I get to college and take the audition, and that year there's probably at least, 10 or 12 drummers. For whatever reason, a lot of guys auditioning. And, I was hoping to make one of the bands. And Tom Ruggieri, who had been in the top band prior to that for the last 5 years, I believe, had just left school. So that spot was open. And Why it happened, I don't know, but Jim Richley and myself were chosen for the top band. So as a freshman, that was kind of a big deal. I think what set me up for success once again was my teacher in high school, who focused on reading, and I really had experience in high school playing with a big band, which not everybody has. So I was ready to do that type of a thing, and it worked out. What's interesting though, that my second year, I went to the second band, which at first I felt like, oh, great, I'm moving down. But it was one of the best things that happened to me, because instead of being the new guy, I all of a sudden could play with a little more confidence, knowing that I had already done something with the top band. So now I felt like, okay, I know what I'm doing, and it allowed me to grow and become more of a leader. Yeah. So to answer the question, I was in the band from fall of '88 through, maybe spring of '94.
Okay.
More years than I should have been.
Hey, that's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with extra education at all. So, well, you were on the Things to Come album then, right?
Yeah, that was 92. Actually, I was on the Live at Peabody's. That was during my first year. So Jim Richley and I are the drummers on that. And that's a great recording, live recording, great energy that night. That's a night that most of us won't forget, because especially for me, I was 19 years old, 18, 19. And to be in a club during I think it was during the jazz festival in Cleveland, and just to feel that reaction from that audience, it was something special.
Oh yeah. Going back to listen to that is it's awesome.
Yeah,
I wasn't there, but in person. But yes, the energy is amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, Things to Come too is.
Yeah.
I was just talking to someone else about that recording, and it's so hard to believe that you guys are in college.
Yeah.
The talent is unbelievable.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's really interesting when you think about it. This is Youngstown, Ohio, and I was thinking about this today leading up to this, that most of the people that go to school there or went to school there at the time were just coming from blue collar families from that Ohio, Pennsylvania area. These weren't kids that were coming out of art schools. These were just regular people that were attracted to the school primarily because of Tony Leonardi. And once you got there, you either had to put up or shut up, and there wasn't, you weren't allowed to just get by.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on that note, do you have any stories or Tonyisms that you'd like to share?
Well, most people that don't know who Tony Leonardi was, for all of us, it took a while, because your dad he wasn't always patting himself on the back. He wasn't that type of a guy. So you found out who he was as the years went by. You found out through some kind of a story. Oh, he did this. Oh, he played with the Woody Herman band, and oh wow, he grew up with these guys in upstate New York, and you start to say, wow, okay, he's really done some things. And then occasionally you would hear him on a gig and hear that high level of playing. So we all respected him, and anything that he said, we knew that he knew what he was talking about. So that's a great first start, when you can trust that what somebody is telling you is probably right. You don't always want to hear it, but he was usually right about stuff. But he took the music very seriously. It was very important in his life, and to do it on a high level really is what he was striving for all of us to achieve. So he pushed us, and sometimes, you left, with your head down, and you went back to the practice room, and you dug in and just worked at it and worked at it. And the thing that makes him different than somebody who's always just putting you down is that when you achieve something, you would get the pat on the back, or you would get some kind of positive remark from him. He would say, "Boy," he had that voice, "Boy, Greg, man, you really sounded great tonight," that little voice. So that's when you look back, you realize how the whole thing worked. But there were days, and funny things. He'd ask me how many tempos I'm going to play, meaning what the heck are you doing back there? How many tempos are you going to play? And it's a good thing to think about, because as a jazz musician, you're trying to keep the tempo as steady as you can. So that was one of them. He would say, he always used the word discombobulate. Your
Really?
your fill was all discombobulated. He would say that. What else? We would have days where all of a sudden he was in a joking mood or a dancing mood. This didn't happen all the time, but occasionally you could tell he was feeling, great. And he said, "Man, you make me feel like dancing," and he'd kind of do like a little dance while we were rehearsing. Those are some of the great things. Just the way he taught us to play, to try to play with a professional sound. One time he told one of the guys, you can't play right rhythms and you can't play in tune. There's not much else left. Now, some of the stuff wouldn't go over today.
No.
So I don't know how, if he lived to be 100 and kept teaching, how all of it would go down, because, he wasn't there to sugarcoat things. And really, that's what we all needed at the time. We needed somebody, because this music business and the jazz business is not an easy business. It's not something where you can kind of learn something and go out and do it and you're going to have all this great success. So if you can't take somebody telling you the truth and telling you that, hey, you're not sounding great at some point, if you can't take that, then you're not going to be able to take the music business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I really think that was his whole point, was to toughen you up.
Toughen us up and
Get the best out of you.
Yeah, and prepare us, for success.
Yeah. So speaking of that, so what are you doing now, and how do you feel that what you might have learned from him or performing in the jazz ensemble prepared you for the career that you have now? So take me through what you've done since college and what you're doing now. So
from what I got from Tony, one was when we would prepare for the next concert, and he really made us dig in to learn the music, not just look at it, but to go and listen to the recordings and find out how the greats maybe had played that same arrangement. So that's one of the things I got from him. So when during school, I typically spent my summers playing, working somewhere. So I spent a couple summers at Cedar Point playing in bands. I spent a summer at Walt Disney World. And that's where, I won that audition in 1992. Playing in the jazz ensemble, I think, prepared me for that, because I was able to play in the All-American College Orchestra, which really was a big band with a string section. And Tony pushing us to play on a higher level, I think, prepared me to win that gig. And that was a great experience. And then I spent 2 other summers at a park in Texas playing shows. So all that stuff combined prepared me to have success, whether it was playing shows. So I worked on a cruise ship for a couple years. And once again, going to Youngstown State prepared me for that, because it was a different show each week. Doing a quick rehearsal and being able to read well. And playing in different styles, I was prepared to do that. And then I joined the Glenn Miller Orchestra in 1996, and I thought I would do it for a year. And for whatever, I mean, I was ready to leave. I gave my notice, and then the assistant road manager job opened. So I figured, you know what, there's nothing pressing. So I stayed for a while and started to learn more about the music business side of it. So then I ended up being out there for 8 years. Once again, a little too long. And now I work for Glenn Miller Productions in Lake Mary, Florida, which is just north of Orlando. And I've been involved for, going on 24 years, I guess. I'm the president of the company, but I also still do a lot of freelance work around the state of Florida. And then Jeff Bush and myself, along with Charles DeStefano in my office, we put together a show called Jukebox Saturday Night, which is basically presenting the biggest and best hits from the big band era. And some of the stuff would have been stuff that we played in the YSU Jazz Ensemble. So kind of a full circle there. And we present this music. And Jeff Bush, actually, another graduate from Youngstown State. So we take this music around the country, sometimes hiring YSU alumni when possible. So that's always a neat thing to do, to kind of have a little reunion. We did one that was in Pennsylvania, close to New York, and I probably had 4 guys from YSU that were playing this show. So it's kind of a neat thing to reunite. But that sums up what I've been doing. I formed the Orlando Jazz Orchestra. And actually, interesting story there. We did a recording, and I called it "You Just Made My Day," and that's a tune that Jimmy Masters, of course, wrote, and we recorded it without a vocal though. We had a tenor saxophone doing the playing the melody. And Jimmy got a kick out of it after we recorded it, and he bought extra copies from me. So that was kind of neat to do that. I've recorded arrangements that Mike Camiff has done. So it's, I try to keep some Youngstown State stuff in my life as the years go by.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is so great to hear.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What an amazing tune that is. And I always, whenever I hear it, it's just one of those songs that it's in your head for days and days and days, and it's so great. And then I can picture my dad dancing to that song, and Mike Camiff's arrangements. Oh my gosh, he's something.
And finally, he's got a lot of things that are published, so his name is really getting around the country, probably around the world. So we're all happy for his success.
Yes. Wow. Well, congratulations on everything that you've done and all of your accomplishments. And
thank you.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Yeah, and we all owe a lot of it to your dad, for everything that he taught us, and for him pushing us. I don't know if I would have received that type of experience at another school. Sure, some things would have been different. At Youngstown State, I was just a music major, music education major, whereas today a lot of students are becoming jazz majors. So they're really more focused on a certain thing, where I was busy with the orchestra, the chamber orchestra, wind ensemble, percussion ensemble, which I'm glad it was that way, because I feel that I'm more well-rounded and have a better appreciation for a lot of different styles of music. But yeah, it really was Tony kicking our butts, and being surrounded by a lot of other good musicians, so that helps as well. Right.
Yeah. One of my memories that stands out about you is I remember I went to work with my dad. Whenever I would have a day off of school, I'd go to work with him. Okay. And I remember he had a sheet on his door in his office. It was to sign up for some gig or something. Okay. And so it had his name, Tony Leonardi, and then underneath it was Phil Palumbi Alan Mascari, all these Italian names, and then you wrote Greg Parnelli, and I never forgot that. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, a lot of Italians in that area, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that, I really didn't grow up around. I grew up in the country, and in my school, of course, there were Italians, and there's, we always talk, actually a nickname for some of them were the Pasta Boys when I was in junior high. Great guys. But to really be saturated in that Italian culture in Youngstown was really great. A lot of great people, Dave Perico, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
And great Italian restaurants, so it was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. Where did you grow up? I meant to ask you that.
Yeah, I'm from Vandergrift, Pennsylvania, which is about 45 minutes northeast of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And that's the Kiski area school district.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was the YSU Jazz Ensemble coming to your school that made you aware of the program and made you decide that's where you wanted to go.
That's correct. And after I kind of started this whole thing where there's a pretty good list of Kiski area students that eventually started to go to Youngstown State, but I was one of the first to do that. And after me, Jeff Bush, same high school, James Borowski, Greg Flew, Tom Resnick. So a lot of guys ended up going to YSU after they found out, what a great thing was going on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, so we all crossed the border, and the price was right in Youngstown. Even with the out-of-state tuition, still pretty affordable.
Right.
Yeah.
And did they have scholarships back then? Do you remember?
Yeah, they had scholarships, and that helped. I received a scholarship when I went in as a freshman. And the other part is the cost of living, especially then. I mean, Youngstown it's a whole lot better now, right? I went back a couple years ago, and I couldn't believe what had happened downtown.
Right.
Downtown Youngstown, that is really nice. When I was there, you didn't go to downtown. If you went, there was one bar you would go to Cedars because they had music, and going in and out of the building, you're constantly looking over your shoulder because it was rough.
Oh, yes.
Because of that, rent was affordable. We ended up renting from Kent Engelhardt. Kent and his wife had a house on Crandall Avenue. Really, not a great neighborhood to live in, but the rent was super affordable, and we made friends with all the neighbors and never had a single problem.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it was
great.
good.
Yeah, I remember, when I was in high school, I would go to Cedars all the time, to see all the different bands, and my brother was performing there. And you described it perfectly. You're always like looking around and making sure.
Yeah, it's a totally different scene now. I mean, it's really nice down there.
It is.
Yeah.
They've done a wonderful job. So as far as this reunion, I started off with this idea and really just didn't even have any expectations as far as, people that would want to get involved. And it's been a really great surprise. But I picked 2022 because it's the 40-year reunion of the Reunion 82 album.
Okay.
And I thought, 40 years later,
Yeah.
that'd be so cool to do it again. And with COVID, who knows what's going to happen in 2021. So I figured, it just made sense. But what would that mean for you to be a part of that, to be able to play with the people from your class, people from before, people after, just to have everyone under one roof again, to pay tribute to Tony and everything that he encompassed? Yeah,
so two parts to that. One is just getting together and seeing old friends, seeing all the different people that have gone through the program. So socially, it'll be a great thing. Musically, I think that the more people, the better. If you even have a program with maybe even a couple different bands, if there's enough people. But I think that's always good. In the past there have been a lot of times just enough people for one band, and that's great as well. But I think the more the merrier. I think it would be great, and I would do anything that I could to support it and to help organize it. I think it'll be great. If we can raise some money for some scholarships or for the cancer. What is it? The name of?
For pancreatic cancer research.
Exactly. Yeah, if we can raise some money for that organization as well, it's all positive.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for your time. And this has been great to catch up. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, it's my pleasure, and glad we can do it. It's Tony meant a lot to a lot of people, so keeping his memory alive is important, especially when people from around the world find out, the different people that have been through this program, from our superstars like Sean Jones and other greats, and great musicians like Jeff Bush and Phil Palumbi and everybody who's doing something in the music business, whether they're in one of the military bands or one of the orchestras from around the world, or Dave Perico with his Las Vegas shows. It's a lot of people end up having success once they leave Youngstown State. So it's kind of a neat thing.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. It says a lot about the school, the program. Yeah,
exactly. I don't get back to that area enough. When I'm there, I'm in and out. But I would like to be closer at times, so I could go hear concerts. Or what would be neat for me as an adult now is to hang out with some of the professors there. When you're a student, it's a different thing. There's definitely a separation between the professors and the students, but to just hang out with some of them now, I think would be kind of neat, and have some conversations with some of the different teachers there would be kind of a cool thing.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Are there any that are still there now that you'd like to meet up with?
That's a good question. Of course, Kent, when I was there, came back, and I think he finished his master's degree and had just started as a teacher there while I was there. So Kent, of course, is still there. That's a good question. Of course, Joe Parlink retired years ago and just passed away, I think a year or two ago. Joe was a great guy, very helpful for me throughout my career, and especially when I was a student, he would take me to the Youngstown Symphony, either to watch them rehearse, or he would get me on the gig as an extra. And that was a great experience. Learned a lot from that.
Oh,
yeah.
I loved him so much.
Everybody loved Joe. He was the real deal. Great musician, great guy.
Yes.
So you learn something from everybody, and you learn from Joe Parlink how you're supposed to be a good guy.
Yes, exactly. Murph.
Yeah, exactly. Murph. Things work out if you're nice,
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the reunion. As soon as we get dates solidified, I'll have to get it marked in my calendar so I don't schedule something else. But yeah, looking forward to it for sure.
Okay, great. Yeah, I will keep you informed as things progress, and definitely stay in touch with everything. So
yeah,
all
we'll
right.
keep doing this, and I know Jim Wilpula is helping, and I think Eric Dregney.
Yes.
And guys like Bill Bodine that are always on board to help. Let me know what I can do. I'm here to help.
Okay. Thank you so much, Greg.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It's great to see you.
You too. Take care. And next time you're in town, let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
All right.
All right. You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.